Is there someone in your gut? Seriously, think about that for a second. When we talk about the gut, we're usually thinking about digestion, right? Or maybe some healthy bacteria. But today in this explainer, we're looking at a framework that totally turns our mainstream assumptions about human biology, psychology, and spiritual warfare completely upside down. We're talking about the idea that there is way more going on inside us than science alone can ever explain.
We're unpacking a pretty radical, really fascinating book by an author named Zamir. And he proposes that our physical gut microbiome is actually the front line of a massive spiritual battle. The source material we're diving into today takes a full 180, or really a 360-degree pivot, from standard biological science. It frames the internal human body not just as a biological vessel, but as contested territory. It's an intense, thought-provoking journey of faith and discernment that's going to force us to look at our everyday interactions in a totally new light.
So, here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The gut microbiome reimagined. 2. Inside the Enmity Kingdom. 3. The illusion of emotions. 4. Disassociation and inner peace. And finally, number 5, the ultimate antidote, love.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the gut microbiome reimagined.
Zamir introduces this concept called the Enmity Kingdom. And in this framework, your gut microbiome isn't just a collection of helpful bacteria digesting your lunch. Not at all. The book explains these entities as literal tools like a machinery of enmity that's been installed and forged by a monstrous mind. And the proposed goal of these entities? To incite human conflict, to spread evil, and basically make us destroy each other. It's a really stark, intensely spiritual interpretation of human biology, where our very insides are actively working against our peace.
Which brings us to section 2, inside the Enmity Kingdom. Now, according to the source material, the signs of this kingdom are things we literally experience every single day. We're talking about involuntary head shakes, a sudden gut growl, or even just a fleeting smirk on someone's face. Zamir views these everyday physical signals not as mere personal quirks or normal biological functions, but as deceptive projections. The theory here is that these signals are projected without our conscious will. They're explicitly meant to trick brothers and sisters into fighting. I mean, imagine someone smirking at you. The book suggests that might not even be them doing it. It might be the entity inside them trying to bait you into anger and conflict. Let's move on to section 3, the illusion of emotions.
There is this huge, immense contrast between how society generally views emotions and Zamir's framework. Think about the mainstream view, heavily popularized by movies like Inside Out. Our emotions are seen as our internal compass, right? They're tools that tell us who we truly are. But Zamir's framework, it defines emotions as demonic mantles. They're described as deceptive states of being that hold motivations from an entirely different realm. So in this view, your emotions aren't your true self at all. They are described as venom secreted into our system to create evil, just dangerous lies that tell us false things about who we are and who others are. And the source material takes this to a pretty grave extreme. It states that human emotions, whether that's feeling laughter, feeling inferior, or feeling superior, they all come from the exact same vault where Ted Bundy's emotions come from. They're distributed by a murderous mind designed for extreme malice. The text actually compares our biologically driven interactions to the behavior of orcs from Lord of the Rings. It's this profound warning to be incredibly careful of what is inside you, asserting that our attitudes are stained by monsters and designed purely for destruction. So how do we handle that? That's section 4, dissociation and inner peace. Consider this incredibly vivid analogy from the author. He says, I'm like a man bitten by a zombie trying to protect others from my own self. I mean, wow. That powerfully captures the profound awareness required in this framework. It's all about realizing that the enemy is actively tweaking your emotions and generating signals to force you into conflict. Once you recognize that you've been bitten, so to speak, your main goal shifts. You're fighting what's inside you, specifically to protect the innocent people around you from this machinery of enmity. So how do we actually achieve that? The text lays out actionable steps for attaining complete freedom. Step 1, notice the signal. That could be catching yourself feeling a sudden burst of anger, or maybe noticing someone else's involuntary smirk. Step 2, disassociate from it. Instead of just reacting, you recognize that this is the Enmity Kingdom at work. It's not your true self, and it's not their true self either. And then step 3, refuse the conflict and take the interaction back. By realizing the true enemy is a deceptive force within, a person can clear their mind of the debris of lies, as the author calls it, and completely prevent a fight that was never supposed to happen.
And that leads us perfectly into section 5, the ultimate antidote, love. Now, while the diagnosis of the human condition in this book is incredibly dark, the ultimate resolution it offers to defeat the enemy kingdom is deeply bright and hopeful. The author frames the reader as a potential kingdom builder, whose ultimate weapon is unconditional love. This theological solution requires grounding yourself completely in God and the Word. It's about looking at the darkness of the world and responding by emulating Christ's compassion, kindness, and forgiveness. A huge piece of this puzzle is recognizing that every single person is a sacred child of God, which completely diffuses conflict right out of the gate. The text also emphasizes putting on spiritual armor, like the breastplate of truth and righteousness, and seeking wisdom from faithful teachers. Paul Washer is specifically mentioned here. Basically, cultivating this purity and unconditional love strips those internal monsters of all their power.
There's this fantastic quote from St. Augustine in the text, "The truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose, it will defend itself." Zamir firmly believes that embracing spiritual truth automatically dispels the darkness and all that deceptive puppetry of the world. When people are rooted in their faith and guided by love, the truth just defends them. It allows them to live with their eyes wide open, totally free from the manipulations of the Enmity Kingdom. We have covered a lot of deep, paradigm-shifting ground today, from viewing the gut microbiome as a spiritual battleground to treating our own emotions as deceptive tools, and finally countering it all with radical Christ-like love. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Knowing this framework, how does your own worldview influence the hidden dynamics of your daily interactions? Are you just reacting to the surface, or are you really discerning what lies beneath? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it leaves you eager to explore the depths of your own beliefs and interpersonal connections. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.